All right, and welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So, lots of volatility, markets all over the map here. So we had CPI this morning, and that came in just basically in line with expectations, a little bit lower, perhaps, but essentially markets liking the number. Obviously, let's look at the ES here. We gapped up, and I said that I tweeted this out. I told my members as well, I don't trust this gap here. This can fade pretty easily, and that's exactly what happened. So we had a big surge up there, and we started to pump as soon as the market opened, and we went right down, and then we came down into this. I told my members here 4120 would be a good bounce area. We did manage to pierce it intraday, and then you can see volume just kind of drying right up there towards the middle of the day, and then we just floated right up. So really, at the end of the day, it's a total nothing burger, and it's just very interesting how this market, no matter what the catalyst is, just cannot pick a direction. So we had, I said earlier today, it's like, the bulls have had every chance to break us out. We had that big surge a few weeks ago, and then we came back in, and then we dumped for the next 3 days. And now we popped up, and then we gap up today, and they can't hold the gap. But then the bears, we get all the way down to, basically this green bar low here, 408.64. Lower of the day today was 408.87. And then we just like ferociously V-shape, for 2.5 hours, or 3.5, however long it's been, bottom around 1:30, so 2 hours, 2.5 hours there. Triple Qs here also, and that was been a pocket of strength all day, and you can see the VIX here. Even when we were dumping earlier, VIXy was really never green. The VIX was green for a little bit here, but when you have big tech showing leadership, take a look at Amazon today. Amazon having a huge day, up 3.5%. Meta green as well. Microsoft up 1.88%, which is a big move for Microsoft. Apple up 1% on the day. With Google, Google had a big pop in the afternoon, up 4.5%. So big tech, again, it's been the same theme, right? We've been just talking about big tech. It's four stocks really holding the market up, but the VIX isn't going to explode when you have certain sectors that are showing leadership like that. If we look at the triple Qs here, this range is getting pretty tight. So we do have the bigger kind of rising wedge here on the Qs, and then we also have that smaller wedge inside of that area, and we're kind of going into resistance here too. And we also noted that RSI is weakening, so then RSI is declining with increasing price. Again, really tight range up here. I'm not sure, it got to remain somewhat neutral right now, but you got to think that we're kind of getting close. This has got to pick a direction soon, especially the Qs. I mean, this is a rising wedge. It is a bearish pattern. We are losing momentum. But the spiders, again, maybe this pop here that we've just had, that's enough to get some FOMO into the market and really push us up into that area. We've been talking about that level for 6-7 weeks now, and we're still sitting in the same place that we've been in, at the end of March and the beginning of April. We closed April 3rd at 410.95. Look where we are here. So not much progress. We're still talking about these same areas. But at the same time, again, maybe this is enough to get us that FOMO spike, but at the same time, you have this M, right? So here's your M, and then this could be an A. You could easily make a lower high. Again, this is still a diamond, pattern until proven otherwise. Additionally, again, like I've been mentioning over here over the last week, it's very reminiscent of that move in, November, December, where we had that up move. We consolidated for many weeks. We couldn't break out. We had that big pop, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, then back up, a gap and crap. It did come off the lows too, not a ton off the lows, but it did come off the lows. Then the next day we had a retrace candle, and that's where the bottom came out. I can't rule out a scenario like that either, but until we get definitive move, there's really nothing you can do on either side here. I think risk reward, is still favoring the bears here. I just don't see the upside here for the market, at least in the bigger like macro sense, like medium to long term. But again, short term, you could still get that bid up there. And again, volume was good. This is another thing too. This morning, I thought we might actually have a chance to really, puke out, because you can see the volume here that picked up. I mean, by 9 or 9:15 a.m., I think we had half the volume that we did yesterday. The previous 2 days, we were at like 20 million shares, and yesterday, including after hours, we had 49 million. That's nothing. So, we did have an uptick in volume, but even now, 9 minutes to the close, we're only at 78, just about 78 million now. We'll probably close at like, 85 or something like that. But, and then after hours, I'm sure it'll uptick a little bit. But this is not like, you know, you can see is the selling. As soon as the volume dries up, the selling pretty much stops here. We did have that one dip in the afternoon. Bitcoin kind of led that down. If you look at BTC here, we had a big market order sell come in, and I remember I just saw it in the corner of my screen, boom, one of those kind of candles, and it dropped, draw my eyes over to my other screen here, and I said, oh geez, Bitcoin just dropped 1,000 points in 5 seconds. So but then again, Bitcoin coming right back off the lows there, so maybe that was a shakeout, who knows. It is still holding that area. If we want to go flip over here to trading view, you can see it's still holding that, it never triggered that head and shoulders, but that is a pattern though. It tried to trigger it, but you got to get a close below that in order to really trigger it. And, it's just, it doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin or if it's the spiders at this point, it just does not want to pick a direction. So you get these levels here, we have a breakdown, we bear flag, then it goes back up, then it tries to break back down. So it's been the same thing really across the board. A frustrating market. For swing trading, it's good for day trading, but right now we need conviction. We need the market to really pick a direction. Again, the levels here, I'm not as concerned with the broadening channel as I am with 404 on the SPY. If you break 404, that takes us down to this trend line pretty quickly, and if you get through that, it's down to 380. But right now on the upside, I think you got to get back above. I think you get a close above 415. That probably floats us up to 420. So that's what I would say right now. It's harder to say here because you have multiple resistance points, right? You have 418.31, you've got 417.62, and you've got 415.72. So I would just say though, if you get a close above that area, you're probably going to float up to that area or next zone. But again, just no conviction, and we'll generally remain neutral until proven otherwise. But again, that does, I do think there is kind of time running out on the clock here, especially when you look at this Qs chart. This has got to pick a direction. It is a rising wedge, so you might get a push through that and then a reversal. That is very typical of rising wedge patterns. But for right now, we'll wait until the market tells us a little bit more here. Russell 2000 up 0.5%, nothing crazy here. Again, still a very weak chart across the board, weekly, daily, monthly. Nothing good there. The Dow is still red, but remember the Dow's price cap weighted, so we'll not make too much out of it. Down just 13 basis points right now. Again, one more pop could get you up to this trend line, but that's really it for the DIA. Semiconductors having a pretty good day here, up 87 basis points. AMD just a tank all of a sudden, although it is coming way off the highs here. Got all the way up to that 100 handle again. You filled the little gap, and it came way off the highs, really overbought here short term, but nice pop there. Nvidia also up 1 point, just 1.25 we'll call it. But semis again still with that lower high kind of look to it. Again, leading tech to the downside, although really it's more so tech. The reason the Qs are up is because of big tech. But today the semis held up well, and they were really green all day long. We did test the flat line once, but you floated right back up. So they're hanging in there right now, but I don't like that we're not making higher highs with tech. That is a huge red flag moving forward. IGV having a good day as well, up 1.5. So that gapped above the 20 moving average. So that's a sign of strength in the near term. Remember, this has been weaker the last couple of weeks, but nice little pop there. And, it's had a pretty decent day. This can make a new nominal high. That's really all I've got on the books right now. Dow transports again on the weaker side, down about 1/3% here, and back below that 200 moving average. I'm not a real big fan of this weekly pattern. Yeah, you're inside of this green bar, but that's your only positive. You're inside a lot more of this downdraft than anything. And again, speaking of running out of space, like I said with the Qs, look at the transports here. You got these two trend lines, you're wedged in between them. And again, you could still make a case that this head and shoulder is still valid. So again, watch the transports here. They'll tell us a lot about the market. All right, over to interest rates here. Bonds getting a bid, so 2-year up 19 basis points on the note. And that's held the gains, and it's actually holding up pretty well here intraday. I still don't have a bond play right now. They're just in a holding pattern. 10-year up 0.5%. Let's look at ZB. ZB up 75 basis points. That's hanging in there. Okay, no problems at the moment. If you do lose this little trend line, that could be a kind of sloppy head and shoulder there. So that's really all I have on that right now. But bonds doing okay. I want to look at HYG. We haven't looked at that in a while. But again here, look at the weakness of this pattern versus the triple Qs. That's another red flag. So definitely, don't discount that moving forward. And again, like we talked about, the TYX is not really making those higher highs with, or excuse me, I should say, let's use TLT. The TLT is not making higher highs with the Qs either, and that is a divergence. So those jaws got to get closed, and it's always stocks that have to catch up. So if we just throw in the Qs there, you can see here, lower highs and higher highs, higher lows. So just something to pay attention to moving forward. So anyways, let's get over to housing. So of course, XHB is green. Oh no, they just turned them red. Okay. So I misspoke there. I know it was green for a minute. Came off the lows there. So wow, XHB having a red day, unbelievable. And the ITB is flat. So up just a cent now. But the home builders are holding up as you'd expect. Coming off the lows like everything else, again, trend is still up, but way overbought, extended, overvalued, if you ask me. VNQ, nice outside move here, gapping above the 50 and 20. You got a little hammer. Maybe this can get an uptick here now to 85, but you still got to get above these pivots before you can do anything. Again, I just don't love this pattern here. It's been in a range for a while. It should not take that long to consolidate to get through this area. But it's hanging in there for now. XLF here, this is still a weak sector. Are the financials, obviously. Again, what have we been talking about here? It's all been big tech. And some of these charts we look at, it's kind of evident there. VNQ, XLF, KRE, really big tech and the home builders, right? That's what's holding up the market. KRE is still not a strong chart. I know a lot of people wanted to trade this off of this tail candle, but you consolidated for a month before making that move. So again, I'm not in love with KRE here. If you want to try it for a bounce, you can, but I mean, there's going to be more bank failures. This isn't over with. So I'm not a fan of it here. KBE also on the softer side. Broker dealers, that is red today. That came off the highs there. If this consolidates, though, it can push up to the 445, 450 area, but still not a great chart here with the lower highs and that big bear flag breakdown a few weeks ago. Over to energy, so crude, a little bit of backing and filling down 1.25 here, no problem. So on a daily, so you just have kind of an up move, and now you're flagging. If this flags more, it can get up into that 75, 76 handle. I don't know if it has much to get through past that, but for right now, it's holding up okay. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. XLE a little bit weaker, down 1%, still holding that trend line. I still think this can get to 82. But we'll see, what we get here. Obviously, kind of CPI. Energy came in. That allegedly energy prices came down. I don't trust the government data at all, but allegedly energy prices came down the most from the CPI report. So putting some pressure on the XLE there. Market's set to close here right now, by the way. And there's the closing bell. So coming a little bit off the highs here, we got a little surge in volume at the end. 412.80 close. Basically kind of a doji type pattern. We'll get back to the SPY later. XOP also on the weaker side here. Again, 125 is resistance for right now. And then OIH also weaker. This looks like it may curl back down, but we'll see what we get tomorrow. Definitely the energy equities a little bit on the weaker side. I do like crude though. Nat gas also backed off the highs here. So a little bit of a pullback there. There was some data that came out, said that the BCF build would be lesser than normal. You got a pretty good spike intraday, but then it came off the highs and back off the lows. It was very volatile, just like the rest of the market was today. Onto the dollar index, that was down just fractionally here. Nothing really going on there. Again, I still think that has to get to 100, but still been consolidating for a while. So maybe it wants to get a little bit lower than 100. I can't rule that out. I will say though, if you break outside of this pattern, you get above 102.20, we'll say 102.50. You could make a case that's a failed pattern. So your kind of inside bar here. If you get above that area, if you get above, we'll call it 102.80 on a close, a weekly close. So we'll change that. But if that gets above there, then that's a failed inside bar. But for right now, the pattern suggests a move towards that 100 handle and slightly below, perhaps. Gold here pulling back off the highs. Really just a lot of whipsaw like everything else. Silver also pulling back a little bit more, down 1%. I think this is still overbought, needs to do backing and filling. We've been hammering on that 20 moving average now for 2 weeks. So if this breaks, I think that takes you down to 24. Ultimately, I think it wants to go back to 23.50 there. Platinum also coming way off the highs, but then it got a little bit of a bounce towards the end of the day. Again, everything was volatile today. Huge pop, then way off the highs, and then kind of recovering there. Lots of whipsaw across the board, but platinum holding up really well. Palladium holding up really well as well. Probably needs to consolidate to get through this area, but nice move off the lows here. Again, I still like palladium on the bigger time frames, and then copper in danger here. So this is in trouble. Got that inside bar, and you're right at the lows again. The more you hammer on that 382 area, the more likely it's going to break down. You could make a case now. I know I've been saying 375 for like 5 months, but you got consolidation here on the daily and even a little bit on the weekly there too. So you consolidate more. This can get down, a little bit farther. So it might need to go to 370. But for right now, definitely on the weaker side, and we'll continue to respect that. Again, we kind of talked about Bitcoin already, but again, as long as it stays above this trend line, that's not a triggered head and shoulders yet. And it can still get one more pop up. But again, like clock's ticking here, and same thing with the market. I think there's only so much longer they can keep us stuck in this range, especially on the Qs, and when we do get a move, it's likely to be a big one. So just be aware of that as well. But anyways, let's wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.